United have been very, very busy when it comes to transfer work. Getting Harry Wilson across the line, Tariq Moharemovic is on the way, and stuff like Charles Suzuki, James Trafford, etc. are all rumours that are floating around in the ether. However, not all of the work that Leeds United are doing right now is around transfer stuff. They've also got stadium redevelopment, but a new emerging little storyline that's popped up from the sidelines is around Leeds United's legal action against Leicester City. Now, I'm going to get into what that legal action is, why we feel justified in it, the sort of case law surrounding it, and ultimately what's likely to happen throughout the remainder of the video. But before I do so, subscribe to the channel. That'd be quite nice of you. About 50% of you aren't, and it's quite sad. Anyway, diving into it. So, about a couple of months ago, I believe, we had a bit of a weird situation in which Burnley had sued Everton for lost earnings. This being the situation in which Everton survived in the Premier League in a season that Burnley went down, which Leeds United had previously just sort of said, okay, cool, we'll come to a settlement with Everton because we don't think this legal action is worth pursuing. That's fine. Which, okay, all well and good, we didn't get anything from that situation, but there's an interesting little precedent there, with Everton having sort of gotten themselves a Premier League place at the expense of Burnley. Very clearly there was a case of, well, if you're in the Premier League and we're in the Championship and you've done so unfairly, you owe us some money now, with eventually £35 million being due to go to Burnley, which is a significant sum of money. So Leeds United have very clearly seen this and thought, are there any situations almost identical to this that we can take advantage of? And there absolutely is, which is why Leeds United are now eyeing up a legal case against Leicester City, because if you have a look at the seasons that Leicester City were viewed to have breached PSR and the financial rules just fell apart because Leicester were like, sod this, we'll get the results that we need anyway and it'll be completely fine. One of those seasons being the season after Leeds United were relegated, the season in which Leeds United got 90 points and ended up coming third place in the Championship. Didn't get promoted through the playoffs, which was a bit of a shame, and ultimately ended up just sort of like, well, okay, cool, I guess we're doing another season of this. However, look at it from a wider perspective. Leicester City made something like £100 million from TV revenue alone that following season, whilst Leeds United ended up making something like 12, I believe, is what you get for Championship TV revenue. There's that gap in earnings that was mentioned in the case of Everton versus Burnley. And now you've got Leicester versus Leeds, and an almost identical situation emerges, which is why Leeds are looking at following through in this legal case. So the specific sort of explanation of this is, and this is from The Athletic, a statement of claim sets out why the claimant is taking action against a respondent. In this case, Leeds have included specific losses, but also requested an assessment of damages as a result of Leicester's PSR breach. So our own financial books were damaged by the fact that Leicester broke the rules of the league, which is fairly significant, and they were found to have done so by the league itself. So there can be no situation in which this legal case is litigating whether or not they did break financial rules, because we all know that they did at this point. However, this is a sort of unfortunate part of this. As it stands, the hearing is not set to take place until next summer, which is a little bit of a shame. And our argument will rest on the fact that had Leicester not broken PSR, we would have gotten promoted in that season, and that, let's be honest, is fairly likely. Leicester would, without blowing PSR out of the water, have had a significantly weaker squad and very likely wouldn't have ended up at the very top of the Premier League. You can look at any sort of points deductions that they might have gotten and said, well, if they got a 6-point deduction, they would have gotten promoted anyway. But there's also clear sort of on-pitch changes that are made by the fact that they've broken PSR too. The fact that we're paying Jamie Vardy something like £100,000 a week down in the Championship is obviously going to have a very significant impact. If you had a look at the squad that they had in that Championship season, it was frankly ridiculous, the amount of money that they were clearly throwing at the pitch, whilst at the same time we had just sold Sinistera and Tyler Adams and Christensen had gone, and countless players had just flooded out of the club, and we were forced into a rebuild, where Leicester were able to mainly keep everyone together. In terms of what this means for Leeds United, admittedly with the hearing set to come next season, likely a very significant amount of cash. There is a very clear precedent now, because it's, again, almost identical. One of them is a club going down, one of them is a club going up, sure, but the revenue gap is the same. It is the gap between Premier League earnings and Championship earnings, and the fact that one of them is gotten through cheating, which means that we can expect something along the lines of the 35 million quid that Burnley got. And whilst this, as the article notes, isn't a binding precedent. It is a bit of a framework to say, okay, this is the financial gap between the two, this is how it's made right. In terms of what I think will actually happen, there's a couple of different routes. One of them is that we drag this out for as long as we can. We make it hurt, we make it painful, because at the moment, we've got the Premier League money coming in. Things have flipped upside down. Leicester, currently hanging out in League One. Leeds United, Premier League. Very, very big income. And in addition to that, we've got the 49ers lawyers on side, which means that we can make this legal case last for as long as we want in order to get the money that we feel like we are owed. And that, I think, if we're looking for the maximum sort of financial output, is the route that we should be taking. However, there is a chance that we always do what we did in the Everton situation. Because in the Everton situation, we saw a legal case in front of us and we effectively put it to Everton and went, look, this doesn't look ideal for you. We're not 100% sure that we can win, but we can make things easier. And we can just settle with you outside of hearings. We can just make a financial settlement, come to an agreement that we won't chase it up any further, and that'll work out for all parties. That'll be significantly less tempting to us in this situation, because now we know that there is a vast amount of money that is owed to Leeds United, but it is on the table as something that we can do. There is a little bit of conversation that some people, I don't understand why, have a little bit of a tendency to talk about, which is, why would we do this? I don't care about Leicester and all that kind of stuff. But in the event that there's 35 million quid on the table for people who are wronged, and you have been wronged and you don't take the 35 million quid, I think you're being a little bit daft. Like, that sum of money pays the Muharemovic transfer fee, which is fantastic. That's brilliant, wonderful. Admittedly, it'd take a very, very, very long time to happen, but it's a big wad of cash to have in. And in addition to that, for me, it'd feel like justice having been done. Because season after season after season, I've seen Leeds United follow the financial rules diligently and sell players that we love, and not make moves that would be genuinely fantastic for us to make, all because we're trying to stay within the PSR guidelines. In this case, to have it blow up so spectacularly in Leicester's face, while simultaneously working out for us because we can potentially financially profit from the situation, it would just feel like justice being done. And I'm a very, very, very big fan of that. I love it. But yeah, that's the general gist. When approached by The Athletic, both Leeds United and Leicester City refused to comment, but to me that says that there's probably something going on, because as we know, when there is business not happening, Leeds United are more than happy to say, yeah, we're not doing that. Whereas if business is happening, it tends to be quite quiet. But anyway, I just thought I'd cover that one off before watching the England match. Hopefully it's gone well if you're watching this afterwards. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. I'm going to leave it there because I've got to walk across town before watching the football, so I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all later. Toodaloo, me amigos.